So as a quick update from last week's video, I did come up with some video ideas, however a majority of them are going to take a lot of research to do, so we'll see if I ever actually get around to doing those, since that takes a lot of time to do. As for this video, I came up with the idea relatively quickly, like maybe an hour ago, so we'll see how well this works out. Go ahead, roll the thing. Hey guys, Sean here. So this week was Groundhog's Day. In fact, it was yesterday if you're watching this the day that this video is posting. So what is Groundhog's Day known for? Well, it's known for the day that the groundhog sees his shadow and it's determined if there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter or not. And then also it's known for a comedy starring Bill Murray from the 90s. So I was thinking about it and I'm like, you know, what would I do if I was in that situation that Bill Murray was in that, well, Phil Connors was in that movie, where I wake up one morning and it's Groundhog's Day again, and then the next morning it's Groundhog's Day again, and then the next morning it's Groundhog's Day again. So if you don't know what Groundhog's Day is about, it's basically about a big city weatherman played by Bill Murray named Phil Connors, and he goes to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where they have the annual Groundhog Day celebration, where they pull Punxsutawney Phil out of his hole and hold him up and it's like, hey, look, it's gonna be winter some more. And yeah, that's really what it's become. It's like the groundhog doesn't see its shadow, it's just pulled out of a box and then everyone holds it up and then yeah, it's a thing. And so Punxsutawney is, you know, this small Pennsylvania town, and Phil Connors is from the big city, and he's just like, these people, this is so whatever, can we just get this done so I can go back to the big city and be all happy again? Now, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've seen it, their plan was originally to go back to the city after they're done with the whole celebration and all that, but due to a snowstorm, they end up getting stranded in Punxsutawney, so they need to spend the night in Punxsutawney. Or is it the van breaks down? There's some reason they need to stay overnight in Punxsutawney. But they were there the night before, because he does wake up the morning of Groundhog's Day in Punxsutawney, so they were there overnight. And so he goes to bed, and the next morning when he's woken up by the alarm, the radio station is playing the exact same song they were playing the day before, and you know, they're saying all the same things, and he's like, oh, that's weird, why are they playing a rerun? And then when he goes out in the hallway, he runs into the same guy he ran into the day before, and he says the exact same thing he said the day before. And as he goes down the stairs into the little dining area of the hotel, the people are all acting exactly the same way, and everything's the exact same. And eventually he realizes that the day has repeated itself. It is Groundhog's Day again. And everything is happening exactly the same as it did the day before, which to him was Groundhog's Day. And then this basically just repeats for, well, no one actually knows how long it repeats for, because he is now basically stranded on Groundhog's Day for eternity. Every morning when he wakes up, it's the same day, in the same location, and everything is exactly the same, only he's the only one that knows it. And eventually it reaches a point where he's just so distraught by this that he's like, I cannot spend the rest of eternity living out the same day over and over and over, to the point that he tries to kill himself, and in fact he succeeds in killing himself. And then he wakes up the next morning, and it's Groundhog's Day again, and he keeps trying to kill himself, and he keeps waking up, and it's Groundhog's Day the next morning. So once he gets over that darkness, eventually he's like, well, I guess I'll try and better myself. And it's at that point that he decides that he's going to become a full-on producer-seducer and go ahead and make the moves on his producer, Andy McDowell, and, you know, that's basically the remainder of the movie, is him trying to seduce her while actually falling in love with her. It's kind of sweet. But how does he go about doing that? Well, he betters himself. He learns new things, like he goes and he learns how to sculpt, and he learns new languages and various other things. Does he learn new languages? I can't remember actually if he learns new languages. But as far as he's concerned, he has eternity, so he can basically learn anything at that point. And he can basically do anything at that point, because no matter what happens, he's just going to wake up the next morning and it's going to be Groundhog's Day started over again. However, because he's in Punxsutawney and it's the 90s, he is limited on what he can learn and do, because he has to be able to do it in Punxsutawney, and he has to be able to learn it from the people of Punxsutawney. And so that got me thinking how completely different that movie would be if it was made today because of this, because of YouTube. And so I decided that I would make a list of the 10 things that I would like to do and learn how to do if I found myself waking up every morning and it was Groundhog's Day for eternity. But then I was like, 10's too many, so I'm just gonna make it 5. So here are the top 5 things that if I were to be reliving Groundhog's Day for eternity that I would do or learn how to do, and that is after thinking about it for about an hour, because I'm sure if I had more time to think about it, I would come up with way more things than these 5 things. So let's go ahead and go to number 5. This is actually one of the things that he does in the movie, and that's learn to play the piano. You see, he's walking down the street one of his infinitesimal days, and he walks by this house, and he sees that it has a sign on it that says, learn to play the piano. And so he's like, that could be interesting. So he goes in, and, he doesn't know how to play the piano at all, and so the woman who teaches how to play the piano, she's like, well, let's see, do you know any piano at all? And then he's like, well, no. And so then she teaches him that day. And then the next day he does it again, and the next day he does it again, and every single time he has learned from the day before. So eventually he walks in and he's, like an expert piano player because she has taught him for who knows how long. It could be years, it could be decades, it could be centuries. No one really knows how long he spends in this loop. And so that's one of the things that I would like to learn how to do. Now, the big difference between him back then and our abilities now is that he had to go and find someone who could teach him how to play the piano, and not only that, find someone who would, just take someone off the street and be like, well, I got time to do it now, so let's go ahead and do it now. That would probably be harder to do in a modern society, but there's a place that is open 24/7 and will always have tutorials on how to do things, and you're on it right now. That's YouTube. The only thing that would make it difficult is every morning I would have to go to a music store and buy a keyboard so that I had something to learn how to play the piano on. So hopefully Groundhog's Day would fall on a payday, much like it did this year. Number 4. Something I mentioned earlier, which I can't remember if he did or not, learn languages. If you have an eternity, you could probably learn all the languages. And you wouldn't need to worry about what's the fastest way to learn a language because you have all of eternity. And with things like Rosetta Stone, it makes it so much easier. But, of course, Rosetta Stone is really expensive, but if you don't need to worry about money, you can just spend all the money that you have on this one day, then that's not even a problem anymore. Now granted, there is a slight difference between if this were to happen to me compared to when it happened to Phil Connors in the movie, because he had no idea that there was ever going to be any way whatsoever that he was going to move on to February 3rd. And spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie, at the end of the movie he does eventually move on to February 3rd once he succeeds in whatever it is that the universe has decided he needs to do to succeed to move on to February 3rd. Now, I, having the knowledge of the Groundhog's Day movie, would be expecting that there is a way to move on to February 3rd. I don't know what exactly that changes or why I bothered bringing it up, but it's just something to think about. But yeah, just imagine if you could learn like every language. I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know if just any schmo off the street could potentially learn every language, or if you need to be some sort of super genius in order to do that. Obviously, someone who's really, really smart could quickly learn a lot of languages. Well, I don't know about quickly, but quicker than most people. So I don't really know if someone who is not all that intelligent, not that I'm saying I'm not all that intelligent, but I'm not by any means a super genius, but I don't know if, like, the average person could actually learn all of the languages, even if they had an eternity to learn them. It's kind of an interesting thing that I don't know that we would ever be able to have the answer for. But now I'm getting too deep on it, so let's go ahead and move on to number 3. I would write a killer 1-hour-long stand-up special. So what do I mean by that? Well, stand-up specials usually take about a year for a comedian to write and perform and perfect and all that. And chances are that they have 10 to 15 years of experience leading up to that point as well. Now, if I had 10 to 15 years of experience in one day, I could probably get that done. You know, while I'm at it, why not write 5 or 6 killer stand-up specials? I would just have to find somewhere in the area that is holding an open mic night where you can just walk on like the first day you show up. That might be a little difficult because generally open mic nights, you need to keep showing up for a few weeks or even months before they actually let you get on. But you know what? If you can't find anything, you can just record it and throw it up on YouTube and see what the reaction is, assuming people will actually watch it. That could be a bit of a problem. But I'm sure there's a way to do it. Which actually leads me to number 2. Make a viral video. Now I know what you're saying. Sean, haven't you said in the past that it's impossible to decide to make a viral video? Yes, it is impossible. It is very difficult to wake up one day and be like, you know what, today I'm going to make a viral video. Granted, there are a few people who I believe could actually do it. However, it requires you going into a suicide forest and filming a dead body. But also, I don't know that just anyone could get a video like that to go viral. Of course, Logan Paul was able to do it, but he has millions and millions of subscribers and views every day. If I were to do that, I don't know that anyone would notice. However, if I had an eternity to spend the morning and afternoon making a video, throwing it up, seeing if it gets any traction, changing a few things, throwing it up the next day, seeing if that gets any traction, continued ad nauseum for eternity, eventually, I think I would hit a viral video. Of course, one of the things about making a viral video is that you then have to hang on to the viewership that you got on that video, and I don't know that I would be able to grasp the people who watched that viral video if I were to continue on to February 3rd, because I would be so burnt out on ideas at that point, because I would have tried literally everything by that point. But then again, they don't know that I tried everything, so I would have all the videos, well, I mean, I wouldn't have them, but I would have the idea of all the videos that I did leading up right to that viral video. So they could essentially be borderline viral videos. And then with all the viewership from the actual viral video, those videos would go viral as well. So I would have multiple viral videos at that point. Interesting. But I digress. Number 1. So this one is a little weird. I know what you're saying. This one's a little weird? What were the previous 4? Well, here's the deal. From the time I was like 6, 7, I don't know, somewhere around there, to about 7 years ago, I drank a lot of Dr. Pepper. And by a lot, I mean like Forrest Gump a lot. Like 7 years ago, I was drinking maybe 4 to 6 cans every day. And one day, I just kind of stopped. And once I got over the caffeine withdrawals over the next however many days it took to do that, I have not drank a caffeinated soda since that point. I say a caffeinated soda because I sure as heck haven't stopped drinking root beer and Sprite and Fanta and any other non-caffeinated soda. But you know what? If I had eternity ahead of me and I knew that everything I did on a certain day didn't count, you damn well better guarantee I'd be drinking a Dr. Pepper at some point. Like, here's how bad it is. So at work, we have had soda machines, we've had soda fountains, we've had all sorts of various soda dispensing contraptions, what have you. Even a refrigerator that just had soda cans in it. And I would find myself maybe once a month just standing and staring at the Dr. Pepper, just like, I could do it. I could just drink it right now. But I know that there would be no going back. However, if I had eternity, there would be going back. I could spend the next 25 years drinking nothing but Dr. Pepper, and then just be like, okay, let's get off it again. And it would be super easy to do because there wouldn't be the caffeine withdrawals anymore. Because as long as I don't drink one on that last day before moving on to February 3rd, it's like I never did. No, but seriously, I miss it so much. Oh, I miss it so much. but I just can't. I can't go back. I can't. Am I being a bit dramatic? Maybe a little. Is it a drug? Yes, it's a drug. Caffeine is a drug. So is sugar, but I still have a huge addiction to that. You know, maybe that would be something that I would be able to do if I had eternity, is get off of sugar. I don't know. That one would be a little more difficult. Quitting an addiction you currently have, as opposed to going back to an addiction you used to have, with eternity of starting over every morning. That's another interesting thought. Because as I said, if you go back to an addiction, the next day you'll have the addiction. But if you quit an addiction, the next day you won't have the addiction anymore. But your body would still be addicted to it because his body remains the same every day when he wakes up. It's just his mind changes. Because it's not like he can lift weights every day and pack on muscle, because that would be jarring for the people around him if one day he went to bed all scrawny and then the next morning he woke up all, you know, basically Captain America-like. So that's actually an interesting one. I don't know that you could quit an addiction, but you could gain an addiction. And the battery just died on the camera, which means that I have put way too much thought into this, which means it's a good place to end this video. So if you had an eternity to do something or learn how to do something, what would you do with that time? Let me know down in the comments below, and while you're there, go ahead and hit the like button if you liked this video. And if you'd like to see more of the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to help support the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.